Hello, and welcome back to Organizational Behavior, OHR 3514. This is Dr. Maggie Vivoda, and I am here to speak to you today about organizational culture. What is organizational or corporate culture? Organizational or corporate culture is a pattern of basic assumptions that are considered valid and that are taught to new members as the way to perceive, think, and feel in the organization. Cultural artifacts. Artifacts are symbols of culture in the physical and social work environment. They are the most visible aspects of culture. They must be able to determine what they mean. Personal enactments, ceremonies and rites, stories, rituals, and symbols are used to reinforce values. Many definitions of organizational culture have been proposed. Most of them agree that there are several levels of culture and that these levels differ in terms of their visibility and their ability to be changed. The definition adopted in this chapter is that organizational corporate culture is a pattern of basic assumptions that are considered valid and that are taught to new members as a way to perceive, think, and feel in the organization. Edgar Schein, in his comprehensive book on organizational culture and leadership, suggests that organizational culture has three levels. His view of culture is presented in his book, and the three levels range from visible artifacts and creations to testable values to invisible and even preconscious basic assumptions. To achieve a complete understanding of an organization's culture, all three levels must be studied. First, artifacts. Symbols of culture in the physical and social work environment are called artifacts. They are the most visible and accessible level of culture. The key to understanding culture through artifacts lies in figuring out what they mean. Artifacts are also the most frequently studied manifestation of organizational culture, perhaps because of their accessibility. Among the artifacts of culture are personal enactment, ceremonies and rites, stories, rituals, and symbols. An example of an artifact would be the big blue bag that IKEA sells to customers for less than $1 rather than using plastic bags. This serves as an artifact of IKEA's cultural stance of protecting the planet. Similarly, the corporate culture of Google is apparent in the offices of its headquarters in Mountain View, California. The lobby has lava lamps, pianos, and live searches of the Google search engine from around the world. Next, personal enactment. Culture can be understood in part through an examination of the behavior of organization members. Personal enactment is behavior that reflects the organization's values. In particular, personal enactment by the top managers provide insights into these values. Next, ceremony and rites. Relatively elaborate sets of activities that are enacted time and time again on important occasions are known as organizational ceremonies and rites. These occasions provide opportunities to reward and recognize employees whose behavior is congruent with the values of the company. Ceremonies and rites send a message that individuals who both espouse and exhibit corporate values are heroes to be admired. There are 6 kinds of rites in organizations, and they have been identified as 1. Rites of passage, 2. Rites of enhancement, 3. Rites of renewal, 4. Rites of integration, 5. Rites of conflict reduction, and 6. Rites of degradation. Next, stories. Some researchers have argued that the most effective way to reinforce organizational values is through stories. As they are told and retold, stories give meaning and identity to organizations and are especially helpful in orienting new employees. Part of the strength of organizational stories is that listeners are left to draw their own conclusions, which is a powerful communication tool. In certain organizations, there are certain themes that recur in stories across those organizations. Stories about the boss, stories about getting fired, stories about how the company deals with employees who have to relocate, Stories about whether lower level employees can rise to the top, or how the company deals with crisis situations, or about how status considerations work when rules are broken. Next are rituals. Everyday organizational practices that are repeated over and over again are rituals. They're not written, they are unwritten, but they send a clear message about the way we do things around here. While some companies insist that people address each other by their titles and surnames to reinforce a professional image, others prefer that employees operate on a first-name basis from the top manager on down. In Hewlett-Packard, employees address each other by first names only. Next, symbols. Symbols communicate organizational culture by unspoken messages. Symbols are representative of organizational identity and membership to employees. Nike's trademark swoosh is proudly tattooed above the ankles of some of Nike's employees. Apple Computer employees readily identify themselves as Apple people. Symbols are used to build solidarity in the organizational culture. So personal enactment, rite and ceremonies, stories, rituals, and symbols serve to reinforce the values that are the next level of culture. Organizational values, espoused what members of an organization say they value, and enacted, reflected in the way individuals actually do behave. The values and how they are promoted and publicized affect how workers feel about the jobs and themselves. Assumptions. These are deeply held beliefs that guide behavior and tell members of an organization how to perceive and think about things. They are the deepest and most fundamental level of an organization's culture. It is unthinkable to violate them, often unconscious, and often it is not something. Assumptions are not discussed or changed. Functions of organizational culture. Culture provides a sense of identity to members and increases their commitment to the organization. Culture is a sense-making device for organizational members. It reinforces the values in the organization, and it serves as a control mechanism for shaping behavior. A strong culture perspective is an organizational culture with a consensus on the values that drive the company and with an intensity that is recognizable even to outsiders. Strong cultures facilitate performance because they are characterized by goal alignment, they create a high level of motivation because of shared values by the members, and they provide control without the oppressive effects of bureaucracy. The 5 most important elements of managing culture. What leaders pay attention to, how leaders react to stress, how leaders behave, how leaders allocate rewards, and how leaders hire and fire individuals. Organizational socialization is the process by which newcomers are transformed from outsiders to participating, effective members of the organization. In other words, it's how outsiders become insiders. Developing an ethical organizational culture. You want to promote ethical norms. Managers are the people that the individuals who serve as ethical role models. Managers communicate that unethical behavior will not be tolerated. You use storytelling, as we just mentioned, to promote ethical norms. And basically there is a overall feeling of trust within the organization. Empowerment of employees to excel in product and service quality. Empowerment unleashes employees' creativity. Empowerment requires eliminating traditional hierarchical notions of power. It involves employees in decision-making, removes obstacles to their performance, and communicates the value of product and service quality. Empowerment, in my opinion, is almost the opposite of micromanaging. Empowerment means I trust you as an employee, I trust you to do the right thing. Empowerment is incredibly important in certain organizations. I'd like to cite one very good example, the Ritz-Carlton. There is actually a story at the Ritz-Carlton, and it's based on something that has been passed over time, but the story goes that a little girl is leaving the Ritz-Carlton with her family. The car pulls up, and unfortunately, she's crying, crying, crying. Apparently, she lost her very favorite teddy bear while she was on vacation at the Ritz-Carlton. So at Ritz-Carlton, they actually, and by the way, Ritz-Carlton is a winner of the Malcolm Baldrige Excellence Award. The employees at Ritz-Carlton are given $250 to ensure that a guest is happy. So that employee actually went, took the money, purchased the gift, went to the gift shop, and gave the little girl this tremendously large teddy bear, of which she was very happy. This is an excellent example of empowerment. The employee was trusted to use the funds, the $250, to make a guest happy. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this PowerPoint presentation. Please remember once again that this is a PowerPoint presentation that's meant to enhance the chapters that you're reading in the book. Enjoy the textbook, and I certainly hope you enjoy your week. Thank you very much.